Kumar jumped off his Delhi AIMS hostel after addressing his sufferings in a heart-wrenching blog. A psychiatry trainee struggles with depression. A month later, an undergrad student from the same institute met the same fate. In 2019, a student hanged herself to death, while in 2015, a gynecologist succumbed to depression. These are just a few to mention. Many are forgotten or remain unnoticed. Mental health issues among medical students is a bigger taboo, ironically, because we learn to mask our sufferings and put up a good show with happy faces. We're all jokers in real life. Jacqueline Phoenix? Well, we don't have to be. Not anymore. Considering that it is difficult to tackle these traumatic times, such as the pandemic has exposed us to, in help us doing this, we have today with us the eminent panelist, inspirational speaker, and mindful Acharya, Dr. Rajendra Barve, sir. Dr. Barve, sir, is a consultant psychiatrist at Mumbai. With more than 37 years of experience, he is a visiting consultant psychiatrist at IIT Bombay. He has also served as the president of Bombay Psychiatry Society from 2007 to 2008. He is the founder of The Mindful Life and is bestowed the title, the Acharya of Mindfulness. He has given several lectures and has authored several books, and he has given a lecture on mindfulness at TEDxIESMCRC. I welcome you, sir, today.
Namaste.
So, namaste, sir. So, without any further ado, let's start the show. Our webinar will be basically focusing on the topic mental health issues that medical students face and the appropriate steps to cope with them. All the questions that you all sent us have been forwarded to sir and will be addressed during the session. Those which will be left will be taken at the end. If there are any more questions, please feel free to type them out in the chat box of Zoom. They will be addressed anonymously at the end of session by sir. Sir, over to you now.
Thank you, Soumya. The introductory clip that you showed was very eloquent, very articulated it very well. I think currently the most stressed profession in the world is physicians and doctors, and more so medical students. So I think that's the right time for us to get into talk about mental health issues. And all the questions that you have sent me very clearly state what kind of stress the students are facing. It may be how to cope with high expectations of parents, how to cope with personal identity, because there is a question about homophobia. It's an orientation issue, which is actually not a disorder. And there are issues like how to handle peer pressure and how to overcome depression. And we are all, we means you are all adolescents about 21, 22. And that's a very difficult job for most of the medical students to handle. Essentially because we spend so much time we spend on studying medical science that there's very little time left for us to take care of ourselves, to know ourselves. I believe every education is basically a process of self-exploration, of knowing oneself, what one truly is. Now, as a medical doctor, it's like given to us that you are here to serve the community, you are here to help the people, and we need to go and do it. And we need to be fighting like warriors. And we have really seen, we must pay tribute to all those doctors who had unfortunately let down their life fighting like a corona warrior all over the country. And very sadly, the community is not only not aware of the kind of sacrifice the doctors are making, medical students are making, but in fact they are against. There are so many atrocities against doctors. So it's very, very sad to, see this situation as a senior physician, as a senior psychiatrist. who's running this practice for the last 40 years, and this change that I have seen in only last 5 or 10 years. So I wish all you all the best, because medical profession is the most noble profession in the world. It's really what you do makes tremendous difference to people's lives. When we pay attention, the patient knows that you are listening, and you are listening mindfully. And half the story of patient's recovery is over when you listen mindfully. But that listening mindfully takes a toll on us. And at times, like the questions are very clear, it makes us feel very, very upset, depressed, anxious, and almost suicidal, like Soumya just said about unfortunate incidences in various institutes in the country. Now, we as medical students, we as doctors who practice this profession, we need to be very, very aware of the true nature of our profession and true nature of what we are. And I always start telling a story about how tough we are. Actually, we are extremely tough. We are extremely resilient. We can actually bounce back almost from any situation, because this is what we are made of. You know the story of a microscopic agent which was deposited in a part of a body which didn't know where to go. It had to climb a very steep wall which was very slippery, leathery, and no light, no GPS, no compass. You don't know what the goal is. You don't know where the destination is, and you have millions of them to fight us. And finally, one of the toughest ones reaches the ovum, which is sitting there pretty to welcome her lover, the sperm. So tribute to the sperm which we have never seen. Nobody has seen his sperm from which he is or she is born. But remember how much toughness that sperm had, that it had to fight, struggle, and finally fertilize the ovum, and all of us were born. So what do we owe to? What we are grateful to? We are grateful to this sperm. We are grateful to this ovum what's sitting in the darkness waiting for the sperm to come at the right time. So the life begins. The life begins with such a fascinating experience. And then we get troubled by, oh, I don't know where to go. It's so dark. I don't know. And all that we say often, and the sperm knew what to do, and the ovum knew what to do. So this story is always there with us. And as medical students, as doctors, we have known this very well. So, my dear friends, always, when you feel low, when you feel you really can't do that, just remember the story. We are the smartest product of the smartest cells. So never lose courage, never lose your bounce back capacity, never lose your resilience. Yeah, this is all so true, but there are moments when we tend to feel very weak. Everybody has gone through this. I can hardly know a doctor who has said, oh my God, why did I join this medical school? Why did I join this medical course, which is so tough, which is so tiring, which is so exhausting, which is so demanding? But we hold on. We hold on and we go through all that. And then finally, when you wear the doctor degree, you feel great. So, the journey of a medical student, I know there is a first question talks about the journey of a medical student, but by the journey of a doctor all through life. And I've talked about this in my TEDx talk, that it's very, very challenging because we suffer from what is known as empathy or compassion burnout. So bear you in mind that what Hippocrates said right in the beginning, physician, heal thyself. First, take care of yourself. Then only you can take care of the whole community, people. It's like when you fly, the announcement in the airline always says, please wear your mask first and then try to help someone. So Take care of yourself, be aware, look at the earliest signs of feeling very low, sad, depressed, and seek help ASAP. That's the message that I would like you to carry all through. All through that I want to say is this. Now, we do suffer from anxiety. We do suffer from depression. Part of it is biological in nature. Part of it is psychological in nature. Part of it is social in nature. So it's psycho-bio-social factor that we need to take into account. And we must understand almost every factor, but we can't really do all justice to all that, but we'll focus on psychological and biological factors. But when any kind of distressful situation attacks us, when we face a calamity or when we face a kind of a threat, the body reacts, and the body reacts in various ways. We know, hence Sally talked about the immediate responses. The first thing that happens is that the pupils dilate and your ears perked up and you try to know what is happening around. So it's the first stage of alertness, and then the stress hormones take over, the norepinephrine comes, the corticosteroids come, and there goes the endocrine system to put everything on the alert, and we have to take a very important decision. Either we fight or we take flight. Either we withdraw, saying that this is not, I cannot handle this, or I can handle this and I can fight it out. So there are only two responses we are left with, all mediated by adrenaline and steroids. This is the primary acute response. But what we are dealing today and what the medical students deal with and what the doctors deal with is not necessarily only acute stress. Of course, there is stress when you're sitting in emergency here and you see your first case or patient comes bleeding. Yes, the bell goes up and the stress hormones come, and they are God's nature's gift to us. But you know what? Time has changed significantly. Lots of things have changed. Lots and lots of things have changed. But few things have not changed at all. I'm going to talk about these two things. One, psychological fact, and the other one is a biological fact. Psychological fact I'll deal with first. You may not remember, but anytime you get an opportunity to read about her, read her book, the name of the book is Death and Dying. Not many people would know about it because she's not a celebrated psychiatrist. Her name is Elisabeth Kubler-Ross. Elisabeth Kubler-Ross was a Swiss psychiatrist who migrated to United States, stayed there and did all her work on death and dying. She talked only therapeutic relationship alliance only with dying patients, people dying of cancer, malignancy, and name it, and Elisabeth Kubler-Ross would be there. A very tiny lady, hardly 5 feet tall, with many physical difficulties, but what a sturdy woman, what a hardy woman. She fought all her life for the rights of dying people. She sat with them, and then she sat with the survivors and also helped them go through the process of death, depression. She held their hands when it is very difficult for anyone, a doctor, a physician, or psychiatrist to hold hand. But Elizabeth is there. And then she observed. And she observed some basic psychological factors. And these psychological factors is like how the body reacts to stress, the mind too reacts to stress. And how does the mind react? She gave various stages. Not necessarily that everyone passes through this stage step by step, or we can jump a few steps and go ahead. But generally, these are the steps that every mind goes through whenever there is chronic stress or stress which is going to be chronic, like somebody gives you a diagnosis which you really don't want. Say, for example, you turn HIV positive, or you have been diagnosed with schizophrenia, or you have been diagnosed with carcinoma, or you have to face a very terrible situation in life. You lose a spouse, you lose a friend, or anything. The first response that the mind gives is denial. No, that's not true. That there must be something wrong. You know, the diagnosis is incorrect. We'll take second opinions. The first phase is denial, and you know how denial is seen in our Hindi films are very famous for showing denial. Every time the heroine, she hears a bad news, she says, nahi, ye nahi ho sakta. Okay. So she screams and shouts and says, denial, denial, denial. But her old woman or someone old lady sitting around, she says, oh, mera kya hoga? Duniya mein kaise chalega? No, it's so difficult. So she gives a second response called anxiety response. And when it strikes you, you first deny. That means you really can't take it. Once you take in, it becomes tremendously anxious situation. Oh my God, what's going to happen to me, my family? What's going to happen to my body? What would we be like to face this for a very long time? So we feel extremely anxious. And secondly, very important, most of you may not be aware, but as a psychiatrist, I can tell you that human mind has capacity to do this double thing. Is that when I'm anxious that I'm anxious. You know, so there is anxiety also about anxiety. And this is secondary anxiety, which is more troublesome because that does not let you seek help. We'll come to that a while later. But the second response is anxiety. Third response is what we have seen in the community. People get angry for no reason and they always displace anger from one to another. Doctors become the very easy target. There's hardly any security provided to doctors. So anger. So people get very angry, like in the Hindi films. इसका मैं बदला ले लूंगा, जिसने मेरे बाप को मारा है उसको मैं मार दूंगा, and all that story happens. Badla story, very popular. So that's the third, anger. So whenever we face situation, remember that you could be responding with denial, anxiety, anger, and that fourth phase is very typically known as phase of negotiation, which everyone goes through. Oh God, like the mother will say, let me have her illness, let my not child suffer. So kind of bargain, you know, we say, okay, I will not get COVID, but let those quote unquote people, politicians get it. So we bargain with fate. We bargain with fate and it doesn't work. So bargain phase, that means you go through denial, anxiety, anger, bargaining. There is a phase of depression. That means you really say, this cannot be dealt with. I cannot really handle this. I'm gone. I'm depressed. I'm depressed that I'm depressed. I feel so sad that I'm sad. That I shouldn't be feeling this way, but I do feel this way. You hear your friends many times saying, actually, I should not be saying all this, but see, look, I'm saying, I should not be actually anxious, but I'm still anxious. People come back to me as a psychiatrist and say, actually, I should be happy, but I'm not happy. I said, who told you? Your happiness is a choice that you make, and you have not made that choice. So, depression, that you are depressed, and you are depressed that you are depressed. So, it's a huge mental burden that we carry in chronic stress of this kind. Following that, there is a phase of resolution, wherein you really have a good introspection, you contemplate, you read scriptures, you read books, you take support from your mentors, or your parents, or your seniors, or your peer group, and they support you. They say, we are holding your hand. So it's very important to be with people at that point of time, because that's the only way that people can resolve and come back to their normal life. Where does resilience come from? This is ordinary resolution, but resilience is going one step ahead, saying that, oh, this happened with me. I have learned so much about myself. I have learned so much about life. I'm a student of life, and this calamity, this threat was like an opportunity for me to know about myself. Like almost all the questions that you have said, the answer is going to be, take a pause, look back, look inside, and find out the real answers, which talk about yourself. I stay near Vilipande, so there are friends. Happy sign, because you missed them for a long time during the COVID time. Anyway, so very important that you resolve this with introspection, becoming more aware of yourself. And then you're resilient. That means you come back, you bounce back with more force, because you've integrated that experience of unhappiness, that somebody has let you down, somebody has put peer pressure on me. Somebody was phobic towards me. My parents were too demanding for me. This is a traumatic experience. I've learned through this traumatic experience, and I want to get over this by becoming smarter, becoming more wise, and becoming more compassionate. Because when we go through this phase, it's likely that we come out feeling very bitter. Duniya to aisi hai, koi kisi ki nahi hai, kasme waade, pyar, wafa, sab baatein hain, baaton ka kya. You know, all that kind of stuff comes. But that's a very cynical thing to say. The real thing is to say that I have gone through this, and this is an opportunity for me. And who is better than doctors to face this situation day in and day out? Because we do make mistakes. And sometimes we repeat our mistakes, and at the cost of something. At the cost of our own life also at times. Threat to our life. Learn from every mistake. So anxiety, learn from anxiety. What are you anxious about? So we'll talk about it a little later. But this is how body reacts, and this is how we react to these situations, and we want to overcome this, and that is where resilience, mindfulness steps in. What is mindfulness? Everyone is talking about mindfulness, and I'm a mindfulness teacher. My teacher, who is a Bhante, a Buddhist monk, who bestowed me this Acharya and said, now you'll be called Sugata. Lucky, fortunate that he chose Buddha's name for me, and he called me Sugata Acharya. Now that means just I'm an Acharya, not a guru. So I want to teach about mindfulness. The word mindfulness is very interesting. Sometime in late 19th century, 1881 or 85, Rhys Davies, a Scottish man, coined this word called mindfulness. Originally, the word is Sammasati. Those who are students who have studied Buddhism and those who have not studied, do study. Because if you read Buddha's philosophy, it's like you are reading neuropsychophysiology, boss. He talks about every step that the neuron takes, how the connections are built. And he talked also of neuroplasticity 2,600 years back. And one of his most important contribution was Sammasati, to be mindful. And now what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is awareness. I told you about this awareness of awareness. I'm sad that I'm sad. That means that there is a level of awareness that I'm sad, but there's also a level about that known as meta-awareness, which means that I'm sad that I'm sad. I'm depressed that I'm depressed. I'm aware of my depression, and I'm still more and more aware, but that awareness makes me more depressed. So mindfulness is an awareness of yourself and also the metacognitions. Why am I like this? Who am I? What kind of anxiety I'm facing? All these questions come from meta-awareness. And to create that meta-awareness at the right place is very, very important. Because like most of the questions you have asked are about what has happened to you in the past. The peer pressure or the parents' demands, or let me wear my glasses and read a few questions. They talk about, additional academic and emotional stress due to lockdown. Okay, parents and relatives scoring 90% marks, and anxiety, overthinking. Okay, then how do you face the trauma that we have been talking about, and how to deal with consistently with mental issues? Now, mindfulness comes in because it helps you to remain in the present moment. My dear friends, our suffering comes from this meta-awareness. Our suffering comes because we indulge into the past. Because moment we get a thought in the mind, we go back and look for similar experience in the life, and they are resurrected and they come back to the present moment. And when we are angry, we could be angry about 10 other things which have happened in the past. Or when we are sad, many times you say, oh, this always happens to me. That means you're taking account of everything that has happened in the past, and you are not that at that moment. So you are either in the past and you make a very simple statement, I hope this doesn't happen to me again. That means I'm worrying about the future. So my mind is either in the past or in the future. That means it is not present here. So my TED talk, I start asking, are you here? Some of you friends just check, are you here? You are physically here, you are listening to me, you are watching, but are you here? Just make sure. Or are you still worried about the ward exam or the exams which are coming, or wondering when the exams will be held? What are the notes and who said what to whom and how to remember instruments, surgery? If you are here, just be here. Whatever you are doing, just be there. So to be in the present moment, taking no judgments, no criticism from the past. And who are the worst critics? Not your parents, not your teachers. We ourselves are our worst critics. We are judgmental to ourselves. How could I do such a thing? Why did I do such a thing? These are all judgmental statements, all self-criticism. We tend to label ourselves so happily. Oh, I'm so lazy. Oh, I'm never get up on time. This is like me, such an idiot I am. Or you might say, oh, I'm so smart. I'm, this, that. So again, you lost your touch with reality. So without judgment, without criticism, be here in the present moment. Be here in the present moment, experience that present moment with complete acceptance of whatever emerges in the mind. So at this point of time, lots of things may be emerging. When will this be over? How long it will go? ये टकलू का कितनी देर तक सुनने का है? इसका कुछ फायदा होने वाला है क्या? ये MBBS में question आने वाला है क्या? All kinds of questions may be there. Feelings may be there. You may be slightly bored and कभी खत्म होगा और you'll say, oh wow, exciting. All these are emotions which are there coming up in your mind. So your mind is a box which contains all this. Body sensations, mental thoughts that we get, cognition that we get, images that we get, everything. And they become a clutter. And this clutter happens because most of the conditioning is judgmental. Like somebody says, demand is a judgment which is made. Oh, I expect it from you. It's a demand which is based on a judgment and criticism. So judgments and criticism never let you discover the truth. And Buddha discovered the truth. And how does mindfulness come into the picture? From Buddha's story 2600 years back, where he called Samma Sati, that means eclectic, comprehensive, the right, the correct Shruti. Shruti means memory, memory means knowledge. So becoming aware of your knowledge, becoming aware of yourself. Samma Sati. How did it come into the picture? We give this credit to about 40-50 years back. John Kabat-Zinn, for the first time, said, let me use mindfulness. Let me use mindful meditation for people who are suffering from pain. And he was working in Massachusetts General Hospital. And there were many people who suffered from arthritic pain, cancer pain, all kinds of pains. And the physician said, can you treat them with meditation? And said, okay, I'll treat them. But he also included yoga, therapy, many things. But the focus was on meditation. And at the end of 8 weeks, they found that the people who were treated with this mindful meditation, mind you, treated with this mindful meditation had recovered. And they made very accurate statements. They said, my pain is reduced, it has become tolerable, but what has reduced is the suffering. Suffering is a reaction to the pain. Now I don't react to my pain. I don't suffer anymore. I've accepted this painful state of my mind, accepted this pain in my body, and I'm equanimous with it. I've adjusted with this because it's a part of life's story. And once I accept it, once I see it for what it is as a reality, not fight with it, not struggle with it, accept it, and I realize the intensity definitely goes down. Intensity is not as bad because the intensity is worse than when you are suffering and there is pain. Like suppose you have headache and say, oh my God, why do I have this headache? It gets worse. So if you accept it, it's less. So the suffering was decreased significantly, which Buddha called dukkha. Ka means empty space. Du means bad, we know. And dukkha, ka, the space of the mind which is filled with sad things, emotions, pain, suffering of life. It is full of it. And he said, all this is going to be temporary. This is the biological fact. This is the biological fact. This is where the neuroendocrine system comes. This is where the biology comes. So if you understand mindfulness, this is, so you need to mind your stress mindfully. That means be aware that there is stress. Be aware that your heart is beating faster only because you are under stress, because the heart can beat faster because maybe you see someone who you like and you have been missing her or him for a long time, and you see her and then, oh, dil dhadakta hai. So body reacts. So you react this and you respond to it, and then you realize that this is a reaction of the body and let it pass. How do you know let it pass? We were taught in the physiology class that if for every adrenaline and for every steroid, there is a controlling hormone, there is a trophic hormone which says, cool down, boss. बहुत एड्रेनलिन हो गया, अभी खत्म कर दो, बंद कर दो पंप एड्रेनलिन का, स्टेरॉइड का बंद कर दो, adrenal glands, please keep quiet, we have had enough of you. So there is a super control over our hormones. That means all the emotions that we experience are going to pass because emotions are byproduct of endocrinal system. And this endocrinal system is the hypothalamus, the pituitary glands. The whole limbic system is where it all happens. So now let's shift to brain a little more. Now, brain has been studied. We know the central nervous system, the central sulcus and sensory motor neurons and sensory cortex, motor cortex, temporal brain, parietal lobe and occipital lobe, silent, cerebellum, prefrontal, okay, all that. But morphologically and anthropologically, how brain has evolved. Brain has evolved, and brain consists of three parts. I don't think they teach you that. The first is the reptile brain, which is our spinal cord, which is basically navigating, which is there in the reptiles. The snake moves very quickly, and all the reptiles are very quick in their navigation and their movements. They're very extremely mobile. So the spinal cord is the one which is the reptile brain. Then from there evolved the mammalian brain, which is capable of emotions. Like the mammals are capable of emotions, they get to look after their babies, look after their chicks after their born. So the mammalian brains were endowed with this ability to feel the emotions and look after them. Feeling scared, feeling fear, feeling anger, all these emotions started becoming very, very clear, and that's the emotional brain. That is where the limbic system lies. So second is mammalian brain. And the third brain is the prefrontal cortex. That's the human brain. And that is something which has evolved in the last 2 million years and is taking place. And and nature is very, very interesting. Everyone knows that we have originated from super apes, and super apes, what is their specialty? Their jaw is quite broad, right? And protrudes out because they eat fruits and keep it there and draw it and then keep on chewing it. And we don't have that kind of a jaw, but we have a brain. And we pushed the jaw inside and pulled the brain outside. So we have a prefrontal cortex, dorsomedial brain, prefrontal cortex, anterior cingulate gyrus. All these have evolved, and they are the blessings of nature to all of us. And that is the prefrontal or the cerebral cortex, which is made of these areas, which are considered to be seat of mind. The judgment, the thinking, problem solving, imagination, name it, and with which we have made the discoveries. The Newton discovered from the gravity from an apple, Einstein wrote his fascinating experiences, William Harvey discovered circulation, and everyone is, all the physicians, doctors, astronomers, everyone discovered because of the blessings of the prefrontal cortex. Now, we'll go back to what stress is all about. Now, what happens is that the limbic system the limbic system is submerged in the prefrontal cortex, sitting like this. That means the prefrontal cortex in front, and this is the limbic system. So this is the limbic system on which the prefrontal cortex sits. So this limbic system is actually pushed back a little and has come to the central part of the brain. But the situation now is, why do we have to mind our stress mindfully? Because this emotional brain, this limbic system is bombarded with constant stressful stimuli. And you know who manages all this? Amygdala. That is the hub from where everything comes. And all the things are gathered there and they are projected to the prefrontal cortex. And that's where everything takes place. The decision takes place, fight or flight takes place. What has happened is in chronic stress or even in acute stress, what happens is this fight-flight response cannot be taken very quickly, wisely, cannot be taken because life has become too fast. The stress is chronic. So instead of the human brain, the emotional brain becomes very, very active. It overrides your cognitions. It overrides your cognitions. It's known as emotional hijack. That means the brain, the limbic system overrides the the human brain. It hijacks. It says, you shut up. Whatever is going to happen is only happen through fear. Maybe it is suicide, maybe it is anger, maybe it is terrible anxiety, maybe it is depression, or emotional disorders. The amygdala is almost swollen because it's bombarded with emotions. It's not only bombarded with senses which come from the 5 sensory organs and the cranial nerves, but they also come from the past experiences. Our own, like I said, oh, what happened in the past comes to this moment. And what comes to this moment is just not a thought, but the emotion. Somebody said something to me and I was angry, and the anger is re-experienced through the amygdala and projected to the prefrontal cortex and said, you don't talk now, we take over and you do everything what we see. That is the overriding of amygdala. That is why amygdala becomes a very important part of the human brain. You might say, why I'm talking about amygdala and mindfulness? This is exactly where mindfulness steps in. This is exactly where the MRI, functional MRI, the positive PETs and EEGs, everything step in. And what they did was, after what John Kabat-Zinn did, they said we must study mindfulness meditation in much more detail. It's just not a psychological story. It's just not a spiritual yogis or those who wear mala and hippies. They do know it is for common man, for everyone. So they started studying the human brain by using MRIs, because till then, only way to study human brain was postmortem. Now you can study, take it, all kinds of sections, and they started studying it. And functional MRI particularly, they could see how the brain responds. So they taught people mindfulness meditation, put them in the MRI machines, functional MRI, and they took series of pictures. People who have done meditation for a long time, or people who have done meditation for 12 weeks, 2 hours every day, or those who have completed more than 10,000 hours of meditation in their life. Buddhist monks, lay people, doctors, psychiatrists, mental health professionals, name it, and everybody was tested for their MRI function, through their MRI function, for the function of the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, anterior cingulate gyrus, hypothalamus, everything. And lo and behold, they found that those who were trained with mindful meditation, those who were meditating regularly, their brain was changing. When I was a medical student long back in 1970s, early 70s, neuroplasticity was not what taught by our very wonderful teachers. But now we talk about neuroplasticity. I'll tell you why it happens. So they did all that and they found that brain really changes. 2 important things. All the prefrontal areas were growing, actually not in size, but the fibers. Anterior cingulate gyrus was increasing in size. So the attention regulation was much better. Emotional regulation was much better because neuroplasticity, new connections were built. But what was shrinking was amygdala. Amygdala was really shrinking. So it didn't have much of function to do because it was not bombarded with so many emotions. Because in mindful meditation, you are in the present moment and you are not in the past. Your memories about the past experiences are completely ignored. And you don't worry about the future. So amygdala says, "Nabi mein mera kaam kuch nahi hai, aap kar lo sab." So that means the cortical areas, which are cognitive in nature, they become more functional. They find new neurocircuits. The neurons have those enzons and dendrons, and they say, let me find a new cell, let me find a new synapse, where can I meet and make friends and make new connections? And that connections are very important because they create few things. Number one, they create calmness because you've compartmentalized the past is past, future is future, this moment. So attention regulation happens because you can focus better, because you don't worry about your exam. You don't know what questions in the Viva will be asked. You don't know what instrument is going to be put forward to you and will be asked. And you will not be asked these pre-op questions and this and that. And what is going to be the long case and short case or whatever they examine these days. You just remain focused on what you're studying right now, this moment. That is the cognitive brain which is working. So attention gets regulated. Emotions get regulated because there are no more memories disturbing you because you have cut them off. 3, new ideas start being generated. 4, your concentration increases and your capacity to remember is much better because you memorize facts much better, only because you are focused, only because you have concentrated better. Number 5, which is again very, very important, which is also discovered later on, because apart from studying these the cortices and their the thickness and the thinness of the amygdala, they were also studying 5 neurotransmitters, neurohormones, where serotonin, serotonin, acetylcholine, norepinephrine, dopamine, and oxytocin. Sando, right? Serotonin, acetylcholine, norepinephrine, dopamine, and oxytocin. And all these neurohormones are regulated. And because they are regulated, they start doing much better than everyone. So these neurotransmitters are controlled, regulated. And that is why what is generated in the mind is your memory becomes stronger, your knowledge becomes more clear. Not only that, you become wise because you're not indulging into wasteful thinking, and you become compassionate. Because oxytocin is a hug hormone, dopamine is a happiness hormone. So you experience calmness, you are very tranquil, peaceful, and also you want to spread the message of love and compassion. Love and compassion doesn't mean that every patient that you come across you'll hug, or every friend that you want you'll go and hug. It's an emotional connect that you build with people. It's an emotional understanding that you build with people. It's a bridge across which a lot of things can pass. Bridge of trust, bridge of bondedness, all this evolves, develops essentially because of the Sando effect of mindfulness. Now, this is the story of mindfulness. Then they said, okay, let us use this in practice. And they started using it in anxiety. So friends have asked questions about anxiety. They have used it in depression. They have used it in obsessive compulsive disorders. They have used it in grief. And most important, they have used it in post-traumatic stress disorders, which are all very, very emotional, disturbing states of mind. And there are people who have asked about rumination because you tend to ruminate. What is rumination? Going back in the past and holding it. And you hold it so it troubles you. You leave it and it goes. Because why? Because neurotransmitters are, moment they are released from the presynaptic synapse, they go to the postsynaptic, and what happens? Zoop, they go. So everything, all the emotions, all the thoughts, They are continuously there with us, and they come and go, they come and go, come and go. What Buddha called anicca or impermanent. If you understand that the anxiety that you experience now is only a neuroendocrinal function, and if you just allow yourself to calm down, it's going to pass. You may not have to do anything. When patients come with panic anxiety, I tell them, look, if you do nothing, the panic is going to pass. No storm has remained in this world. We take credit for treating you with alprazolam or other benzodiazepine, but actually it's going to pass. The patient tend to lose, patience, and they become, anyway, they are patients, so they lose patience, and they become very, very upset and angry, and secondary things come. Why am I depressed? Why am I anxious? I'm anxious. I'm anxious. I'm anxious. All that starts happening and brings down the self-esteem. So mindfulness meditation helps you because it does this to the neuroendocrinal functions, the Sandoz story, and also the intricate detail that I told you about the brain function. This is how it works. This is how meditation works. For a very long time, people were just doing study of meditation with the help of EEG, which is a very, very superficial. It's not a very, very reliable test that is evolved. It's very specific for very few disorders, frankly speaking. They saw alpha waves, they saw theta waves and all that, but not enough to make a claim. And now claim is made that this is as good as any benzodiazepine. This is as good as any antidepressant. Of course, it doesn't mean that you stop it, but you give this to augment the effect, to give it a better try. So tell patients to do yoga regularly, to do mindful meditation regularly. So you might wonder, what do we do when we want to mindfully meditate? Okay. Actually, you know what? Very simple. It is so simple. It is so simple that people forget that it is so simple. It can be done so easily. And they keep on fighting with themselves. So first thing, be compassionate. It takes time. Human mind is basically very, very chanchal, very, very restless. In Gita, Arjun says, Asamshayam Mahabaho Durnirgraham Chalam. It is no doubt full of suspicions and is very stubborn. So, this is what Arjun said. So, we also believe the same. So, it's a very chanchal, very, very भटकता है वो, बहुत बहुत भटकता है. तो भटकता है और जितना भटकता है उतना दुखी हो जाता है. Because it go भटकता कहाँ है? फ्यूचर में जाके डरता है या पीछे जाके सोचता है कि ऐसा क्यों हुआ? जो भटका हुआ मन है उसको स्थिर करना है. And that is meditation. So people may say, okay, आप सोचना बंद कर दो. अरे not so easy यार. Come on, सोचना कैसे बंद करेंगे? सोचना तो काम है ब्रेन का, वो तो करते रहेगा. स्पीड कम हो जाता है. It's like when you switch off the fan, it doesn't next second it stops. No, its speed कम हो जाता है. So the speed stops. When you become aware that there is no thought, that itself is a thought, right? So you can't say that I become thoughtless. And nobody can say, be thoughtless. Easy to say, but not possible. Okay. So you try to focus on the present moment. And where is the present moment? The present moment is here and the present moment is here. That means the present moment lies in the breath. Very simple. Can you take breath for yesterday? No. Can you take breath for tomorrow? No. You can breathe only for this moment. And this moment is your breathful moment. Because you cannot postpone taking breath. You cannot hold it for a long time. We just have to remain focused on the breath because that breath gives you that instant energy every second, every second, every second. So if you bring your mind focused on the breath, and the moment you bring it back to the breath, it's going to wander again. So please bring it back again. Please bring it back again. Please bring it back again. Yoga, Hatha Yoga teaches this by steadying the body. There are different kind of asana. The asana steady the body. Particularly the Padmasana. The pose of meditation is triangular. It's a pyramid that gives tremendous stability because the base is flat and broader than the head. So it gives a pyramidal structure and you can remain focused. So if you can do that, nothing like it. So Padmasana, Sukhasana, very good. You can sit in Vajrasana, very good. I do it every day. So do this asana because it gives steadiness to your body. But that's not very, very essential. What is essential is steadiness. So be steady at a given point of time. Let's do it now. Wherever you are, friends, just cooperate with me for a few seconds. Just wherever you are, sit erect. Sit erect. Pull your shoulders back a little. You know why pulling the shoulders back is very important? The apice is open. It is right behind our collarbone. They open. And when you take long deep breath, apice is also full. So open your shoulders. So lungs are open. Close your eyes. Take your breath easily and breathe out. Just in 5 breaths, I became very calm. Did you notice one thing? So if you're very observant and if you are examining a patient with the respiratory symptoms, you have to be very careful in examining. Did you notice one thing? That, okay, let me tell you. My breathe in and breathe out. Breathe out was longer. Breathing was shorter. You know why? Autonomic nervous system. Breathing in is sympathetic, it is excitatory in nature, and breathing out is calming. So it is parasympathetic in nature, rest. Well, this is activity. So if I lengthen my breathe out time, automatically the parasympathetic system is slightly stimulated. So it's not a perfect balance of sympathetic and parasympathetic. It's more in favor of parasympathetic system because you want to rest. But parasympathetic system is all about resting and quieting. Okay, so breathe out longer. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And whatever thoughts, emotions, body sensations, images, intentions, impulses that you get, just ignore them. Just let them pass. I give an example of, sitting by a river and seeing the river flow. Sometimes it is fast, sometimes it is slow, sometimes it's clear, sometimes it is turbid. Sometimes it's very noisy, sometimes it's very calm. But you sit by the side of the river and you observe the flow. Or you can stand in front of a sea beach, stand on the sand and see the waves come in and go out, come in and go out. They go out, they go back automatically. Like I tell my patients who come with panic, anxiety or obsessions, they say, look, you just let them pass and they pass. That's the magic. It can pass on its own because it's a neuroendocrinal function. जाएगा भाई कहाँ इतने देर तक एड्रेनलिन रह ही नहीं सकता. थक जाता है इंसान. इन chronic stress ये थक जाते हैं. बॉडी थक जाती है. फिर भी हम करते रहते हैं. फिर भी स्टिमुलेट करते रहते हैं. तो ऐसा ही होता है. So all this can be changed, modified with the help of mindful meditation. And how often do you do it? Okay. Now a research which is very, very American style. That means how fast it can work, how long do I have to do, and do I have to do it daily? So these questions were asked, and the research paper said that if you practice for 20 minutes every day, 20 minutes every day, 20 minutes you spend more on social media. Borrow time from there and do your mindful meditation, 20 minutes every day. For 8 weeks. If you do it for 8 weeks, 20 minutes every day, the brain will start changing and you will appreciate the change in your mind. You will see amygdala will take time to shrink, but the cognitive functions will be better. Do it regularly. This is a discipline. I mean, you need to do it. And unless you do it, you will not learn it. How a surgeon becomes a surgeon? Because he does it, doesn't read only 11 billion. A physician also who reads books, he just doesn't, doesn't read only books, he goes to the one. What medicine happens is actual practice. So you just need to practice. And as we are born, we knew nothing here. We just knew how to breathe and we just knew how to suckle the nipples so that we get milk. After that, everything we just didn't know how to clean, dash. Our mother has taught us, we don't know how to button shirts, tie shoelaces, nothing we knew. We didn't know ABCD, कुछ भी पता नहीं था, सब सिखाया. वैसे ये सीखना चाहिए. सीखेंगे तो फायदा है, नहीं सीखेंगे बोर हो जाएंगे तो नहीं फायदा. Simple. 8 weeks, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 8 weeks. Sit quietly any place and do this. You can sit, don't lie down. Those are. Sit in a chair, be comfortable. Shoulders pull back, mind only on the breath. Like in Gita, the shlok is Sparshan krutva bahirbahyan chakshushocha antare bhuvo pranapanam samam krutva nasabhyantara charinam. It says that Sparshan krutva, touch everything and keep it outside. Chakshucha antare bhuvo. Chakshu means nazar. Nazar means mind. Antare bhuvo, that's here, Agnya Chakra, Agneya. So focus there. And prana apana samam krutva. Look at prana and apana, breathing in and breathing out in the same equanimous way. Nasabhyantara charino. The way the breath comes in and goes out, comes in and goes out, comes in and goes out. Just observe that. Just observe. Observe. And the shlok that I talked to you about, Asamshaya Mahabhavo, the second line is Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha bhujyate. That's only when you practice again and again, then only you'll be able to practice it and put in action to it. So 20 minutes for 8 weeks, do it and you'll find the benefits. You can imagine that your amygdala is shrinking and your anterior cingulate gyrus is doing a great job. So when there is a lecture on, you're just thinking of not one who's sitting next to you, what perfume he or she is wearing, and will she meet me after the class? Bye. No, just focus on the studies and remain focused, and your memory will improve, concentration. I'm not saying it's a panacea, but I'm saying this is a very powerful skill. Simple, very powerful tool, very simple. And that adds, and that you become very good. And then your mind becomes very equanimous, very calm. Like in Gita, they say, Prasanna chetaso yashu buddhi parivatishchate prasade sarva dukkhanam hanerasya upajayate. Your mind is stable, calm, tranquil. Prasade sarva dukkhanam, dukkha nikal jata hai, uski hani ho jati hai, kam ho jata hai. Prasanna chetaso yashu, when this state of mind, this mindful state of mind is there, buddhi parivatishthate. That means your buddhi, your thinking process is very firm. So when you examine your patients, when you write your prescription, when you're giving your exams, when you're reading, buddhi parivatishthate. Your mind should be exactly where it should be. It wanders. Wandering mind, human brain, teach, learn. We have learned so many things. From scratch, everything we have learned. We didn't know how to sit, talk, nothing. We've learned, so learn. Why not learn? And if your mind wanders, don't be angry with yourself. Don't be your critic. Oh my dear, please come back. Please come back. Please come back. And how you train your. Suppose you have a puppy at home. How will you train the puppy? If he pees and poos everywhere, you don't hit it. You say, oh yeah, that's the place where you need to be. So you tell your mind, that's the place where you need to be. Nasabhyantara charino. Experience the movement of the breath. And when you breathe in and breathe out, don't make noise. This is a completely secular practice. There is no Hindu breath, there is no Christian breath, there is no Muslim breath. There is nothing of that kind. Breath is breath, breath is breath. Simple. Simplest possible thing in the world is to breathe and come have an ayama, that means prana ayama, have a control on your breathing and it will do all the tricks. So most of the questions I've answered, but let me have a very quick look at them and tell you because this is where if you start practicing it, it will start working. It's like closing yaar, paracetamol. आप खाओ कौन सा भी फिर होगा तो निकल जाएगा. Okay, so how to cope with depression, long medical journey. You just wanted to be very, very clear about this. I'm going to tell you a little more about other things also. Relieve anxiety and stress, which go hand in hand. Hectic study schedules of medical. Just practice this for 20 minutes. Do your exercises very regularly. Very, very important. Acharya, ahara, vichara, vyayama. Very important. How to handle homophobia. Actually, people who come and say things, taunt you and say things, are the people who are really afraid. Don't be scared of people who are scared. Those who tease, bully are scared people. And why they give importance to us? Because we seem to be vulnerable. And those who have time to spend time on vulnerable people have nothing better to do. So they're actually useless people. Those who taunt, bully, they have nothing else to do. They just want to feel superior because they're internally feeling inferior. Why bother about people who just feel inferior about themselves, who give importance to people like us? We are very ordinary people. They should be really thinking about good things, how to study better, how to be a better human being. They should be thinking about that. Why are you afraid of it? These are all, ये सब कीड़े हैं. इनकी क्यों परवाह करें? Okay. Due to high expectations of parents, talk to parents. Talk to parents. One more webinar. MSN parents. Okay. Are sleeping disorders? Yeah, signs of depression. The earliest sign of depression usually is नींद नहीं आती है. नींद नहीं आती है is a very important sign of depression. So it doesn't mean that you take a sleeping pill. Just get yourself examined by a psychiatrist, a mental health professional, or a counselor. What is the best thing we can do to get over trauma when we share with our parents? Of course, it's not easy. I've told you it's very difficult. We go through this phase. We need to resolve it, introspect, mindful meditation, and you will see that these memories slowly are erased. Memories cannot be erased. I said it, but they cannot. We just have to learn from the memories. From what we don't learn remains. Memories which disturb us, you have not learned anything from them. That is why they keep on disturbing you. Okay. Consistency in mental health. You need to be consistent, disciplined. Almost every time there is a chaos going on, mind में सबके chaos रहता है. Mind is a huge chatterbox. All the time, talking. Chatterbox. Useless. Most of it is clutter. Most of it is in the past or in future. I remember in my very few months of lectures in physiology, our teacher told us, he said, very, very ordinary people discuss events. Facebook and social media. Little better people discuss other people. But people who want to achieve things in life always discuss ideas. So stop bitching, stop gossiping, focus on ideas. Every moment is here for us to learn something about life or ourselves. And then you'll find that being forever a student is the key of youthfulness. Mentally calm almost every time. Yeah, how do you understand the presence of void in life? And just, yeah, there is void in life because life is what you make out to be. My life doesn't come with a prescribed कोई prescription नहीं लिखता है कि भाई ये ऐसा करो. You need to create your own meaning, find out. Few things I need to tell you about this is that our mind clutter, this judgmental and criticism that I talk to, most of these are irrational beliefs. They have no practical value. They are unrealistic, they are unpractical. Like, suppose I love someone, I want someone to love me equally. And if I love, the other person also must love. As much as I'm loving. I must never make a mistake. People must be honest. People can't be unfair. People can be unfair. Just talk up yourself. People must be punished because they are unfair. देख लेगा Supreme Court देख लेगा. Why we want to be in trouble? And we have all these generalizations and labeling that goes on. मैं तो ऐसा ही हूँ. मेरे साथ हमेशा ऐसा ही होता है. एक बार बस मिस हो गई तो कहते हाँ मेरे साथ तो हमेशा बस मिस ही हो जाती. I am working at IIT, so I see students come and say, मेरा लव ब्रेक हो गया. ये हमेशा ऐसा ही होता है. ऐसे अरे तू तो 19 years का है, कितने बार लव ब्रेक हुआ? मेरा तो 10 टाइम हो गया था, नहीं 2 बार हो गया. ऐसे अच्छा है ना, लड़की थी या लड़का, whatever it is, gone with the wind, over. Make a fresh beginning. Why she should love you, and why you expect because you loved her she will love you? Because you loved, she should love you. That's an expectation. जितना अपेक्षा ज़्यादा उतना उपेक्षा ज़्यादा. The more you expect, the more expectations are not fulfilled. So be very focused, be very realistic, be very, very focused in the present moment, and you will become rational. So those who are interested can read about rational emotive behavior therapy, REBT, or cognitive behavior therapy, CBT, or they can read about mindfulness-based cognitive behavior therapy, which I was giving you all the time, actually. So it is mindfulness-based cognitive behavior therapy. Just go on the net. There are very good sites on cognitive behavior therapy. There is a very good site by Albert Ellis who talked about rational emotive therapy. There are very good Google Talks by John Kabat-Zinn, Robert Thurman, Mark Epstein, Sulisara Lazarus, Ellen Langer. Wonderful people. They are doing excellent work in the world. And some of the teachers, that teach from Vietnamese monk is talking fantastic things. He speaks very well. Then other textbooks of mindfulness, textbooks of Buddhist meditation are there. High stuff right now, focus on anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, medicine, surgery, gynec, and jurisprudence, whatever subjects that you want to study. But this can be a very good way to understand yourself. Introspection, contemplation, and not criticizing. I think I've given you what message I wanted to give you in this short period of time, though I spoke very fast, because if I don't speak fast, then you'll have to run to catch, and so you'll be late. Thank you very much. And thank you, Soumya, so much. We just met 2 days back and she invited me, and I'm so glad that I could be talking to medical students. If I teach one doctor, I've got thousands of people. Thank you, Soumya. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was an enlightening session. And I think it's just virtual applauses that we can give in this webinar. I really miss if it could have been a personal interaction with all the students. So, Sir Vesta, you have already answered almost all the questions that we received through the form. But here are a few more that we have received through the chat box. So, may I read them out for you?
Please.
Okay. So, sir, the first question is that if any of our batchmates is suffering from depression, how do we really analyze that he is going through a rough patch? And how can we be a support system for him or her in such cases?
Okay. Number one, don't start counseling him immediately. अरे ऐसा होता है, छोड़ दो, ऐसा सोचने का नहीं, तू बहुत ज़्यादा सोचता है. You're just getting into a preaching mode. like Hindi film में philosophical ideas आते हैं वैसे. Don't start doing that. More important is asking question, how are you feeling? When your face looks, because it's very likely that he will deny or she will deny. नहीं कुछ नहीं. Then you can say that then you give a description. Your voice is low, volume is low, you don't look fresh, your eyes are looking very sad. I would like to listen to you and listen very, very mindfully. Pay attention to what your friend wants to say. Listen and don't ask why. Because if you ask, why are you depressed? It's like you are making it not legitimate. You say it is very stupid to be depressed. Never say that, why are you depressed? Okay, you are depressed, you are feeling sad. There could be reasons, something needs to be told to us, but not be. I'm there with you, I'm there to support. I would like to pick up the phone and say, ask again. Just be very patient. Don't humiliate, don't make it a public story. Just sit somewhere and say that I'm your friend, I can understand you, and please talk to me. And then seek help as soon as possible.
Yes, sir. Sure. So the next question is that you mentioned about Buddhist philosophy. So as a medical student, if you want to go further in that course, so what philosophy course can we choose?
Come again, please. What philosophy?
Sir, if a
Buddhist
medical
philosophy.
student, yes, if a medical student want to pursue his
Yes.
philosophy, then what course should he or
Ah,
she choose for himself?
okay. This is actually the best medical colleges in the world always teach philosophy because it's a philosophy of science that you must learn. So, but there is a very good website called Coursera, which gives number of courses in philosophy. Some of the distance learning universities are offering courses in philosophy or in psychology. Mumbai University offers, Annamala University offers. They have got very good courses on psychology. So you can read it. IGNOU gives good courses on psychology. So you may not give the exam completely. It doesn't matter. But you can, they send books and there are textbooks and they suggest reading. So keep on reading it and find like-minded people. It's very important that you find like-minded people. And wonderful now we have WhatsApp groups you can find on the Facebook. You can create a small group and exchange experiences and ideas. And don't waste time on useless things. There is no time. Time is same for everyone. If you stop wasting time, you create time. So this itself is a philosophy. So read that, and introspection is very important. Acceptance. Once you accept this is how I am, you start seeing yourself in a different light. The first question was asked by human being, who am I? Koham. First question ever asked to the universe. So this is all philosophical in nature. Earlier times, doctors were taught philosophy. Yeah.
Yes,
So these
sir.
Coursera, distance learning universities, you can take them. IGNOU University, they offer courses. They have very good books also. Self-help. New Age science is what you should be reading. New Age science. There are good books on psychology, philosophy, not just poppycock. Not just, that's also a good book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Yeah, but very, very laymanish, but can be very good. Books on rational emotive therapy are, yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the next question is that we usually hear that you have to let go of things, but that is easier said than done. So how do we let go things without really thinking about them again?
Okay, let go. See, let go doesn't happen because we are attached to it. You understand, we are attached to it. It's not only the unhappiness. Unhappiness is a phase in life. Unhappiness that happens is the clinging to unhappiness that really matters. Because then we ask questions, मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों हुआ? This is clinging. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए था. This is clinging. So you try to rationalize, argue with yourself, hold on to it, and then you plan कि मैं इसका बदला लूँगा. That is what the real problem is. Letting go is actually freeing yourself from all the burden that we carry. So it's like you want to participate in a race and you carry heavy bags with you, which are just full of stones. You will not be able to run longer, right? So first thing what you do is just drop them and go ahead. So those who can't let go want to have it, want to suffer, want to cling to it. They're craving for it. They want sympathy. They have this guilt, so-called, which makes you feel, oh, I'm so sad and I would like people to come and support me. भगवान ने सब कुछ सपोर्ट के लिए दिया है, अंदर इसकी जरूरत नहीं है. Support is fun, not essential. So let go is an attitude which you need to develop slowly. Only when you see impermanence of emotions in mindful meditation, that these emotions appear and pass, letting go happens. Very difficult, but it happens.
Yes, sir. So there is also a question on negative coping mechanisms. During our life, we adopt many mechanisms which are negative, and we know that they are not good for us, but we cannot let go of them too. So how to tackle this situation?
Okay. Frankly, negative emotions, negative thoughts occupy most of the space. in human mind. Huge clutter. You know why? Because negative emotions and negative cognitions are always giving caution signals. And they always tell us that you need to survive. And because so much of survival is dependent on it, we tend to cling to negative thoughts and negative. So we tend to be in negative state because then we can abdicate responsibility. We need not do anything for ourselves. We just say I'm lazy, I'm this and that. And then anyway, मैं तो निकलते ही नहीं मेरे मन से negative thoughts. कैसे निकलेंगे? आपको अपने आप निकल जाते हैं. You know, you can't see tsunami wave also went back, right? It is not staying with us. It went back. It just receded. So everything passes. So you say, okay, let it pass, and it passes. Because we have an agenda. We get negative emotions, negative thoughts, always create an agenda. The agenda of, revenge, agenda of getting back at a person, play a game with a person, उसको चिढ़ाना, उसको फंसाना, मेरे साथ ऐसा किया तो तेरे साथ भी करूँ. तो महाभारत की story है. You want to keep on playing महाभारत की story, you want to develop yourself. तो श्री कृष्ण होना है कि कृष्ण ने भी यही बोला कि आप काम करते रहो. Because you cling to things, it doesn't happen with you.
Yes, sir.
Clinging behavior is again neuroendocrinal function. Neuroendocrinal function.
Surely. So a couple more questions, if the time allows, may I ask them?
Okay. Yes. Go ahead. I'm enjoying.
Sir, everyone is, I believe. So there is a question which I will also ask that personally, that during meditation too, sometimes our mind wanders. Sometimes the silence that we create, that also creates more of the wandering of mind. So how to overcome that? That during meditation too, there is cluttering of thoughts and overthinking. And also, how would you recommend guided meditation if that is somehow helpful in this?
Okay. Guided meditation is like a blind man walking with a walking stick. It's like putting on the light so that you know where the hindrance is. But you have to walk your own path. Okay. Wandering mind is going to be there. There is going to be clutter. Assume it is going to be there. Silence is going, because you're not used to. 10 days of Vipassana, first 4 days, people are there. 5th day, people are break down and cry because you're used to talking about it, and talking not every time helps because you keep on ruminating around it. So thoughts are going to come and they're going to pass. You don't have to do anything about them. We just have to let them pass. We are not used to it. We just want to do something about it. Do nothing. Most difficult thing. I tell patients, I'm going to tell you to do the most difficult thing, and which is the most easy thing, is to do nothing. Practice it. How many times, how often have you just sat and did nothing? You have to keep on doing something or the other. Soumya. So it passes. Guided meditation helps. Somebody guides you. I use music. I also use music, which is a very, very tranquilizing music. You can just lull, just flow with the music, but let it not be rhythmic. Let it not be, which is that song, Mera, this Gana, whatever the new songs which are there, which are, Malika Sherawat kinds, very, very soothing music, maybe flute or something. Very good, nice music coming on YouTube, which is relaxing music. Pay attention to it and let it pass. If it wanders, bring it back. Yeah, if it wanders, bring it back. प्यार से लेके आओ. प्यार से लेके आओ. उसको whistle करके लेके आओ. तो आते. Train your mind, train your brain. Training. The only way. And people say, oh, I can't concentrate, so I've given up meditation. I said, oh no, you should do meditation because you can't concentrate. You can't concentrate, that's why you should do. Just keep on doing it. The first 5 years of life, you have just did nothing, no kuch kiya nahi, sirf chalna, bolna, utna, baithna, ye sikha 5 साल. फिर अगले 5 साल इंग्लिश में लिखना, साइन करना, पढ़ना सीखे. हाँ, 10 साल, 15 साल, 20 साल, यही तो करते आए हैं हम. तभी तो यहाँ तक पहुँच गए. तो 1.5 महीना 8 वीक्स करने में क्या आ जाए? थोड़ा पेशेंस रखो. there is no immediate weed that you can take. Oh, people tried those psychedelic drugs. The 60s and 70s were all about these hippies trying passport to visa to transcendental meditation by taking charas. We don't want that. अरे इतने एंडोक्राइन अपने इतने एंडोर्फिन दिमाग में हैं, कहाँ जाएगा वो चरस, कहाँ कौन क्या करेगा इतना. Brain is full of oxytocin and dopamine. I have been experiencing it myself. You can see, look at my face. I'm enjoying. I'm running 68 and I want to do webinar every day.
So we also want to call you every day, I believe. This is, we've come to the last question now of this session. That sometimes we feel loneliness or feel low, even our life is going well, and there is no measured obstacles, but still that feeling of loneliness or we feel low. So why is that so, and how can we overcome that?
Okay. Loneliness is part of life. Everybody is born lonely and dies lonely. There's no doubt about it. Loneliness is where the introspection, contemplation happens. Loneliness is one of the most beautiful time in the world, where you are just by yourself and just you need to. Why? Because we are addicted to stimulation. We are addicted to stimulation, and we are not used to not getting stimulation. So brain craves for stimulation. You just let it simmer down, it will happen. Silence is very beautiful. Silence is very beautiful. You'll slowly learn. हम म्यूजिक इतना पसंद करते हैं, म्यूजिक तो साइलेंस में होता है. इस सम पकड़ते समय साइलेंस हो जाता है, तभी मजा आता है. So if you are lonely, just it's like Oscar Wilde once said that falling in love with yourself is lifetime romance. If you love yourself, you don't require anyone else. Girlfriend की जरूरत नहीं है, boyfriend की जरूरत नहीं है. And boredom भी नहीं होता है. In last 4 months, I have hardly experienced any boredom. Just enjoy every moment. Because in loneliness, you can be curious about the world, curious about yourself.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sir, you can continue. Thank you.
Yeah, you are going in and coming out somewhere now.
Okay.
I think the web is tired now.
Sir, am I audible now? Clear.
Okay, I said web is tired now.
So, but we are not. So we are also not.
I'm not tired.
Okay. So, sir,
the last question that just a second. Last question you asked, which I wanted to cover, but not enough time. Sometime again, we can meet. I can talk exclusively about positive psychology. Exclusively about positive psychology, which is based on mindfulness. So this was like MBBS, then you need to do your post-graduation. And for positive psychology, very exciting subject, very, very nice. It's not a repair subject, it's a subject which helps you to build yourself. So, inshallah, milenge, and we'll do positive psychology workshop.
Yes, Zarur, and we're even receiving messages that they want to attend the next webinar. So let's see when that happens. So with this, we come to the end of our webinar. I hope and I'm rest assured that you all will be able to dig yourself a little deeper and will be able to bring out a positive change in yourself. A slightest change means a lot. It's a victory for us if you feel more equipped to mind your stress mindfully. I would like to thank Barve sir again for sparing his valuable time for us. Sir, it was a pleasure hosting this webinar with you. Guys, please don't forget to check out Sir's Foundation, The Mindful Life. And also, please follow our Instagram at ima.msn.saifai for future events. So, let's
get in touch on WhatsApp. So I'll give you something.
Sure, sir, sure. So this is the time to bid adieu. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, audience. Have a good day and a peaceful life. Bye.
Bye.